Hey guys, welcome back to the Epic Dad Legacy Podcast. Hey, I am super pumped for today's guest and today's conversation. Today I've got on Chris Cavallini. So Chris is a business owner, a speaker, philanthropist. He runs the $10 million a year business, Nutrition Solutions. He's been featured in Forbes magazine 5 times and just an all-around awesome dude. In addition to running his company, Chris works tirelessly to help men all around the world become the best versions of themselves. By getting them out of their comfort zone. And Chris's own kind of personal tagline is success is just outside of your comfort zone. And I'm here to violently shove you, metaphorically speaking, of course, in that direction. So I am super pumped to have him on, man. Chris, what did we talk about today?
Yeah, I mean, look, we talked about a lot of stuff. Basically, the responsibility that men have to lead their children, and the best way that they could do that is through setting a positive example by having a strong mind, having a strong body, and basically beginning to instill in their children at a very young age the virtues of discipline, hard work, sacrifice, and winning, and under no circumstances accepting a participation trophy.
Yeah, that's right, man. Throw that shit in the trash. So Chris, man, thank you for coming on, guys. You guys are really gonna love this episode. I'll link all of the resources we talk about in the show notes, but definitely go check Chris out. You guys will not regret it. So let's hop into the episode. Are you ready to become the dad you know you are meant to be? Good, because this is the Epic Dad Legacy Podcast, where imperfect action is better than perfect ideas, promises kept are more important than promises made, and nothing happens unless you make it happen. My name is Drew, father of 3, and founder of the Epic Dad Company. My mission is to help dads up their game and become the husbands, fathers, and men they're called to be. Thanks for listening. Now let's start the episode. Well, dude, thank you for coming on, man. I really appreciate it. So I wanted to bring you on for a couple of reasons. So one, I just started diving into your podcast, the Start Today podcast. I don't know why I haven't been listening to it before. I've kind of been around like the personal development area for a while. Listen to guys like Priscilla, and all that stuff. And so, found you, love the podcast, man. I actually found you through Nutrition Solutions. It was your company, which we'll talk about a little bit. But and the reason I found you and started like doing some deep dives was your memes that you put out for Nutrition Solutions are just freaking hilarious. And so I was like, all right, who's the guy that runs this? I gotta find this out. So yeah, man. So thank you for coming on, Chris. For guys that don't know you, would you mind giving just like a quick 1 minute, and we can definitely just start diving into some content?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first and foremost, thank you for having me on. Secondly, I think it's important to point out the fact that I am not a parent. Currently, I'm not a father. And, when you reached out to ask me to do this, I wanted to make sure you knew that. So I really appreciate the opportunity to come on here and speak to dads and give insight, because I do have a tremendous amount of leadership experience. And I really think that being a dad, really what that is just being a good leader to your child. And I'm looking forward to sharing some insight and some things that I've done to achieve success as it relates to leadership. And hopefully it can help some of the dads that listen to this podcast. But my name is Chris Cavallini. I'm the CEO and founder of Nutrition Solutions. We are a healthy lifestyle, healthy meal delivery service. Been doing this about 10 years. And we're doing pretty good. I mean, our company generates 8 figures annually. And I've been fortunate to have been featured in Forbes magazine 5 times. Didn't have a traditional upbringing. I was arrested 17 times before my 18th birthday, another half a dozen times as an adult. Spent most of my 20s as a drug dealer until I decided one day that I needed to make some changes and sort myself out and basically just get on the path to create a name and a legacy and a life that I could be proud of. And I basically dedicated my life to personal development and fitness. And, through my personal development journey and through my fitness journey, I realized there's a very real, very direct connection between looking good, feeling good, performing good, and the success that would inevitably follow that. So I basically just try to share my message and put people onto the path and the practical action steps that I took to go from somebody who was arrested over 20 times, former drug dealer, to being a multimillionaire and, somebody who obviously is making an impact.
Yeah, no, Chris, I love that. And thank you for pointing out too, like we were going to get into it, but I mean, most of the guys I have on here are dads, right? We talk about dad stuff. We talk about staying in shape as a dad, how we get, stuff done as a busy dad. But I think to your point, like fatherhood at its core is leadership.
Yep.
Right. It's, your job's not to be your friend, like best friends with your kids, it's to lead them. And because one day you're going to be gone, right? And they're going to be out there on their own making decisions. And so I think that the principles that you're talking about are directly relevant, right? And so that's why I wanted to bring you on here and kind of chat about that. But I'd love to pull out a little bit. Like you said something just kind of nonchalantly of like, I got arrested 17 times before I was 18. What was your childhood like? Like, was your pops around?
No. My mother had me when she was 16. My dad took off prior to me even being born. My mother was very stable. She was a kid herself. She had issues with drugs and just a multitude of mental health problems going on. So I was in and out of foster homes, group homes, juvenile detention centers, spent some time on the street. Ultimately, in my teens, started getting locked up, and eventually joined the military. And I wish I could sit here and say that as a young boy, it was always my dream to serve my country honorably and get out there and make an impact. That wasn't necessarily the case. I was given an ultimatum by the state of Massachusetts to basically join the military or go to jail, and I opted to join the military.
That's a real thing.
Right? It was amazing. I mean, in hindsight, it not only changed my life but potentially saved it. But when you don't have a father growing up and you don't have stability, there's a lot of things that come with that. And there's, with me, I didn't have a father figure and a authority, somebody to instill discipline in me, someone to basically teach me about life and the importance of being tough and the importance of being a man, essentially. So I grew up with a lot of insecurity, a lot of anger, a lot of sadness that I projected to the outside world in ways that obviously weren't great, right? Lashing, getting in trouble, doing stupid shit, getting arrested. And when I started getting arrested, it was for relatively minor stuff. But as you check those boxes, the need to, take it to the next level just kicked in. And really what I was, in retrospect, looking back on it, as a teen, what I was doing is I was looking for significance. I was looking to just to feel significance and get attention onto myself. Obviously, not the best way to go about facilitating that, but it all ultimately served a purpose. And the path that I chose really, or the path that was chosen for me, really helped me understand certain things about just all ends of the spectrum. I've been fortunate to sit at tables with billionaires and learn from billionaires and have billionaires in my network. And I've also slept on the street. I've also spent I spent time in jail and juvenile detention centers and everything in between. So those life lessons really helped me just gain a better understanding of human behavior and really my own behavior, which ultimately gave me the opportunity to start making some changes and basically breaking thought patterns and limiting beliefs that I had about what was possible for my life and what I was capable of, as it were.
Yeah. And I think like you said something there too, just about like really just trying to like have some significance, right? And get attention and things. And like, I think ultimately, like at the end of the day, our job as dads is to make sure that our kids are seen, heard, and understood, right? And so they feel that significance, right? And they have that kind of authority figure to go to. And I was going to pull up some stats. I won't do it right now, and you may be aware of them, but like it's amazing when you look just at the stats around kids that grow up without dads. I mean, it's like something like 70% of like high school dropouts. It's like dad went around, and it's just like kind of go down the list, right? And then like the reason that I started the company, like really is to think about broadly the culture shift that we've seen, and like why we're seeing a negative decline in culture. And like my hypothesis is it is a lack of like fatherhood and like leaders in the home, and that's going to lead to having shittier kids, They're not going to have discipline. They're not going to, know what to do when they get out in the real world. And that's just going to have a downward effect on it. And so like with the company, what I'm hoping to do is, help guys be better dads and use some of the lessons that you're, putting out there to help them do that. Right. And that's ultimately over a generation, right. That's going to lead to a shift in the culture. So yeah, and then you mentioned too, just kind of like having that experience about, living on the street, things like that. Like that's going to give you a different perspective and kind of have you go through maybe some hardships that other people haven't gone through, right? How much has that played into some of your success of like having that experience of knowing like, hey, I know I can get through this shit because like I was sleeping on the street,
Yeah. I mean, at the time, of course, you don't have an awareness of the fact that what you're going through and what you're dealing with is really setting you up for a better life down the road. But yeah, I mean, the things that I've been through were instrumental, especially in my entrepreneurial journey. Business is hard. Starting up a business is very, very difficult. And you have to be willing to lean into discomfort and deal with adversity early and often. And the higher you go, the more you want to climb up the mountain, the more adversity that you're going to face. But just to touch on the statistics. So yeah. Children who don't grow up with a dad, according to the National Center of Health Statistics, 63% chance of committing suicide, 75% chance of becoming a drug addict, 90% chance.
It's fucking crazy, isn't it?
5 times more likely to be poor and commit crime.
Yep.
10 times more likely to drop out of high school, 20% more likely to end up in jail. And these statistics are true. I mean, I literally have validated all of them.
Yeah, you live those statistics. Yeah.
So it is one of those things that, I think fathers need to really understand the importance of their role in the child's life and, not just understand the importance of being a dad, but being a leader.
Yeah, that's the point too, right? If you look at those stats, like, yeah, that's with dads that like weren't around, but you look at, families that were dads are home, but they're not actually present. Like they're not actually leading the family. Yeah, it's gonna be the same type of stats, right? And so I think, by us and the listeners that are dads, like, hopefully you guys are getting it. Like your job is a lot more than just, go out and make a paycheck and like provide for the family. Like, yeah, that's part of it, but like you need to be a leader of that family,
And so, I think
it's huge.
In my opinion, and again, that's all it is. I think dads need to also understand not just what their role is, but what their role is not. Children don't need a second mother.
Yeah.
They need a father. They need a father to set a good example and to work hard and to be able to instill certain virtues and characteristics and just subconscious psychological training through the most important years of child's cognitive development. And a child needs to see their dad out there working hard and making things happen and making an impact. I think that quality matters a whole lot more than quantity. And if you are a high value man, you have to recognize that part of the territory with that is sacrifice. You're going to have to sacrifice.
Yeah, you're gonna be busy. If you're going out there making stuff happen, like you're not gonna be able to spend 12 hours a day with your kids.
You're not, and you are going to have to make sacrifices. You're not going to be able to go to every t-ball game, to every baseball game, to see every recital, every school play. Like there's going to be times where you're not able to make these things, and hopefully you understand that that's okay. That's okay, and hopefully you have a wife that supports what you're doing and isn't putting it in the child's ear that, oh, your father should have been here. But like a child doesn't need a second mother. A child needs a dad who's going out there kicking ass in the world and setting an amazing example for their child to one day follow in the footsteps of.
Yeah, I mean, we always say to our kids, right? Like, oh, you can go be anything you want to, as long as you work hard, blah, 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 and all these like cliches, right? But then, if they look at dad, right, and they're like, hey, he's a fat piece of shit, he's not out there doing anything like that, that's going to impact them psychologically, right, and subconsciously to know, like, yeah, dad's saying all this stuff, but like, he's not actually doing it. So
yeah, and the interesting thing about that is I get messages every week from kids in their early teens who follow me on social media.
Yeah.
And they make comparisons between what they see from me and what they see and the tremendous disparity that they're seeing from their father. Like, I I wish my father was more like you. I wish he worked out. I wish he ate the right things. And moreover, I wish he made me eat the right things. I don't want to eat some of this stuff, but it's what's being provided to me. And what should I do? How should I approach that? I'm too young to get a job. I don't have my own money. And it's just heartbreaking, to hear.
Yeah, man.
But at the same time, it's one of those things that parents, dads, fathers, men need to understand. Like, as a father, like, if you have made a decision with your own life to not prioritize your health, to not prioritize success, to not prioritize living a life that's worth living, once you have a child and bring a child into the world, your entire perspective and priorities need to fucking change, because it is not just about you. And I'm going to make the argument that if you're a fat parent, fat dad, as it were, like, you have a responsibility to make some changes, if for nothing else, then to set your child up for a positive, productive, healthy, happy life. Because the statistics show us that fat parents have fat children. Okay, this is the stats. This is not.
Yeah, no, I saw it. It's like something like if both parents are fat, it's like 80 something percent. Like
80 up to 80%. And the thing about that is, it's not just genes, right? Like, genes do play a role, but it's these behavioral patterns, the cognitive conditioning that they're being subjected to growing up, when they're being subjected to fast food and a dad who's laying on the couch, eating potato chips. They believe that this is what they should be doing, and this is how it is. And they develop these patterns and habits that not only set them up for a lifetime of just low confidence, a fat body, right? Poor self-esteem, just potentially having significant mental health problems, not potentially, unequivocally having mental health problems, because the food that we put in our body is directly linked to our mental health, whether it be positive and negative. So it's just one of those things where, like, one of the easiest things that you can do to set your children up for success is taking care of your health and not being a lazy piece of shit. Exercising, working out. I mean, the most inspiring thing to me, I work out a lot outside, and there's this place in Tampa, Florida, where I live, and I go. It's the convention center, and there's a fitness trail right on the water that is very close by. And the most inspiring thing in the world for me is when I'm out there working out and I see either a family or a dad out there exercising with his kid, going on a run, going on a bike ride, doing some push-ups. To me, I mean, it's like the coolest thing. I mean, what better way to spend quality time with a child than getting out there and putting in the work and starting it at a young age? The earlier we instill these characteristics and habits and behavioral patterns and virtues in our children, the higher the probability that they're just going to kick ass and live a very healthy, happy, fulfilling life.
Yeah. No, I try to go out there. So I've got like a gym in the basement, and my girls are young, right? They're 6 and 4. Then I've got a boy who's 6 months. And so, we got it's a busy life, right?
Is the 6-month-old in the gym yet, or?
Yeah, no, he's doing crunches and stuff, but so, but I'll go down and work out, and I'll be doing deadlifts and stuff, and their little toy room is like right across from my gym, right? So, like, although they're too early to be doing like snatches and stuff like that, like they're seeing dad work out, right? And like sweat like crazy and work hard, and then when they're old enough, right, like it's going to be, hey, let's teach you fundamentals, right? Let's get you actually in the gym and really build that confidence. And then 2, I think what I do with my kids though is one thing you touched on was just the discipline aspect, right? And like intentional stress in your life, is going to be positive. And so that's something I'll do with my kids too. And I want to touch on that, right? Like, because I see some of your posts, and a lot of it is like, hey, I'm putting myself in an uncomfortable environment on purpose, and like there's a reason for it. So I'd love to understand kind of what your thought is on that, of what type of resilience is that building by putting yourself in those situations?
So I went through a lot of adversity growing up, a lot of adversity as an adult. I've been through a lot of adversity in the 39 years that I've been on this planet. And every single bout of adversity that I faced has literally made my life significantly better. And somewhere along the way, I just had this realization that adversity is directly linked to the optimization of a human's development. And the fact is, like, I realized most people didn't have the circumstances that I did coming up. People didn't have a tough life, a tough childhood. And that's why it's so important that if people didn't have a hard life, they didn't go through hardship and didn't experience some of the things that I did, that it is extremely important that you proactively seek out adversity, whether it be in the form of a really hard workout, right? Taking a cold shower, doing an ice bath, getting in the sauna and doing a long sauna, not just popping in the sauna after a workout, and as soon as it gets hot and uncomfortable, popping out, which is most people who use the sauna, staying in there for 20, 25 minutes and pushing yourself past the point of when your brain is telling you, hey, get out. Hey, I'm hot. Hey, you shouldn't be doing this. We need to proactively seek out discomfort and do hard things every single day. Every single day we need to do something that sucks because it's going to build up our resiliency. I call it microdosing with adversity.
I love that.
With adversity every single day to essentially train our parasympathetic nervous system to improve our stress response. Because the truth is, as a man, as an entrepreneur, as a leader, I have seen just how significantly the masses buckle and just completely fall apart when the pressure is turned up. People do not know how to handle stress when there's a problem going on and everything's all fucked up. Those are the situations that show you who you are and perhaps who you are not. And you need to be the type of person who, when things are fucked up and there's a problem going on and the stress levels are at max capacity, you need to learn to like that shit, because that's an opportunity for you to stand out amongst everybody else. When everybody else is freaking the fuck out, hitting the panic button, like, you want to be the one that they turn to in those situations. You want to be the one who is cool, calm, and collective under the most stressful situations imaginable. But that just doesn't happen. You don't hear somebody say something like I'm saying now and then just do it. You have to train for it. It's training for life, because look, life is hard. You're going to be stressed. You're going to have stress. Now, you can let that stress basically create a situation where you rise up and it brings out the absolute best version of you, or the complete fucking opposite, which is what most people do. The difference is the people who train for it, the people who've been through adversity, the people who understand that adversity isn't a bad thing. It's an opportunity to get to the next level. And if you are looking to get to the next level, you have to seek out adversity. You have to confront your adversity immediately and aggressively and with extreme prejudice. And I realize, again, that not everybody grew up like that. I realize some of the people who might hear this might be fucking soft, right? Like, you might be a weak man right now. Hence why it is so important to start doing these fucking things. And if you're hearing something like this and you are a weak man who hasn't been through a lot, hasn't struggled, hasn't endured, hasn't suffered, and you have a kid, like, you have to understand how important it is for you to have the self-awareness to not only start doing this yourself, to level yourself up and level your life up, but like, you want to make sure that you're setting your kid up on a path that will prepare him for the battleground that is life later down the road, when they're no longer, in your household and they're out in the real world. So again, ways that you can do that is putting them in martial arts, jujitsu, boxing, kickboxing, like, get them in sports. Like, it's so important. Self-awareness is such an important quality and virtue. And I think a weak man that has the self-awareness to put his child in something like that so he could learn from people, I think that's actually a strong man. And I think that just because you didn't do it, that wasn't your path, like, you should want better for your kids than you want, or than you had for yourself. And, again, self-awareness is just an important thing. But when we are familiar with what it feels like to get punched in the face, quite literally, it actually makes it a hell of a lot easier when you get punched in the face by life metaphorically. Most people, most kids, nowadays, fucking embarrassing.
Man.
This is a whole other discussion, but like, they don't know how to deal with adversity, because everything has been so.
They've never been put through it.
No, when they get the shit kicked out of them, when they're playing a sport, baseball game, whatever, and they literally get the shit kicked out of them, and they have to stop the game early because of the slaughter rule that some of these leagues have, they're still handed a fucking trophy. It said, hey, good job. So no, you did not do a good job.
Yeah.
You didn't do a good job, and you shouldn't feel good. I'm not saying you should feel bad, but I'm also not saying you shouldn't. You should fucking feel bad. You shouldn't. When you lose, it sucks. It's supposed to suck. It's supposed to hurt, but it's those shitty feelings that teach you that you need to do better next time. Because
dude, I want to send you a video after this.
Please do.
It's so 100% can't agree more on that. So like, my mind immediately goes to like the movies, right? And like there's a trained Navy SEAL or something, and like shit all of a sudden goes crazy, right? And all of a sudden they're around civilians are freaking out. And they're just like, you do this, and just immediately I take charge, right? And that doesn't happen naturally. That's because they've trained through adversity, right? And they know what to do. And you don't have to do that. Like, one, not everybody's gonna be trained like a Navy SEAL, right? Have that opportunity, but there are things that you can do, like Chris is talking about, in your life every single day to bring that adversity, right? So you talk about a cold shower. I love that one. So if you guys go back, I think it's like episode 4 or 5 or some shit. It's called Intentional Stress. So I talk about that, right? And just hopping in the shower literally for a minute, as cold as it can go. I talk about you need to be doing something every single day.
Every day.
Your mind is telling you like, fuck, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
But you need to tell your mind like, shut the fuck up and just do it. So like that's big. And then the part about putting your kids through it too, right? Like there's things you can do with your kids, to build that adversity. Like you talk about sports. Different challenges. Like what I do is I have a cold bath downstairs, and I'll have my girls get in, and just do like 20 seconds, I'm like, you just have to do it for 20 seconds. And they're like, no, and they're like down to here. I'm like, no. I'm like, get up to your neck, and just, let them know that like, that they can do difficult things. And then the other one, the video I want to send you is, my kids were talking shit the other day. Both my 4-year-old and 6-year-old saying they could beat me in a race. And, I was like, all right, well, let's go out and see it, So, we got on the starting line, and I just like smoked them, of course. They're 6 and 4. And, but it was for that lesson, right? Of like, hey, this shouldn't feel good. Like you lost, So like, one, you have to understand that like you're going to lose in life, like that's going to happen. And then 2, it's not supposed to feel good, right? And it's an opportunity for you to get better and to work harder. So yeah, it's a hilarious video. I'll send it to you. You'll get a laugh out of it. But I think just the lesson there, right, that we're talking about is huge.
And on that note, just a couple follow-ups to that. If you're a parent and you have your kid in sports and they're giving your kid a participation trophy, I'm not saying make a big scene in front of everybody.
Yeah, no, back home though. Yeah,
but back home, that trophy needs to go in the trash, and you need to have the discussion with your son or daughter as to why that's actually happening, because they need to understand. Okay, society is conditioning this next generation to be soft and to be weak, and to not have to have any real reason to work hard to earn shit. And that's a huge fucking problem, because the weaker people are, the softer people are, the easier they are to control. And we don't need to get into a discussion about
we do that offline.
Yeah, I think we can all see that that's really what's happening in society. They're trying to just demasculinize our society and basically glorify this just everybody deserves a trophy, like weak-minded snowflake mentality. And that ain't it. Like that's just fucking not it. And it's really, really important that men step up and understand their role and protect their kids from that bullshit. And on the same note of adversity, like working out, right? That's a huge one. And I'm sure, like, look, you're super fit, prioritize exercise, and I'm sure a lot of your audience does too. But not all workouts are created equal, right? So the gym is the easiest place to get that microdose with adversity, but it doesn't happen by you going in the gym and doing the same familiar, predictable, comfortable routine.
4 sets of 12 curls and
since the last decade. You're right. Go in the gym and literally like think, what do I want to do the least? Like literally, exercise do I fucking hate? Like, do I avoid at all costs? And that's the first thing that you need to do. And you need to change that. You need to do hard things. And when you leave the gym, you should be out of breath. Your heart should be beating out of your fucking chest, and you should be drenched in sweat. Just going through the motions, casually texting in between, or being on a elliptical machine or a treadmill where you're walking at a leisurely pace. Again, I suppose it's better than not going at all, but you need to turn it up. You're in there to do a job, and that job is to not just become more physically fit, but more mentally fit as well. I put my employees in ice baths. I put my employees just this morning, Wednesdays and Fridays, we do very difficult workouts early in the morning. We get out there and we get after it. And I have young kids, 19-year-old kids, and then there's 55-year-old females out there, and burpees, box jumps, ball slams, everybody is getting after it. Everybody is at different levels. What's hard for everybody's hard is different, but I'm pushing them and I'm paying them to do this.
Yeah. It's not a bad deal right there.
No, I'm making an investment in them, but the reason I'm doing it is not just so they become more physically fit, but to help them build up resiliency, help them become more mentally fit, help them become more disciplined, and help them learn how to deal with discomfort and push past, because we're growing a business and we're in the business of changing lives. And that's not easy work. There's a lot at stake, and our company has been in growth mode the last several years. Growth is painful, and I need to know that, when shit hits the fan and we have some problem going on, that I have a team that has the ability to take control and to stay calm and to thrive amongst the chaos. Not a bunch of pussies who are going to basically just get stressed and fold when the pressure's turned up a little bit. So, as a leader, just like as a parent, it's my responsibility to help my team improve their tolerance to stress, help them improve their resiliency, and help them improve their mental toughness, because all of that stuff is directly linked to improving their confidence as well. And I think that there's truly nothing more important as far as what a father needs to instill in his children than the virtue of confidence. But it's so important that we understand how that actually happens, because it doesn't just happen. It's actually quite the opposite.
It's not just dad like smacking in the butt saying you can do whatever you want to do.
Good job.
No, you need to build that adversity. So Chris, I want to, I know your time's a little bit limited, so I want to transition to, I want to transition. So I think you did like a rehash of your studio, then you guys relaunched the podcast.
Yeah.
And then you came out with 2 episodes, which I love, man. I just got done listening to them last week. And I think the title is something along the lines of how to unfuck your life. Something like that, right?
Blueprint to unfucking your life.
Yeah. So when you guys get done with this, you guys need to hop over to Chris's podcast and listen to those. And you kind of go through the first episode of like, hey, things you need to remove from your life, right? Like to set you up, really to set the foundation so you can start like taking steps and taking action. And so my audience, right, is busy dads. Like we all are working, we've got kids, we've got softball practice, we've got to make dinner, we've got to do bath time, blah, 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 like very limited on time, right?
Yeah.
So I'd love to know, like, out of those 2 episodes, what are things guys can start doing that, one, are not going to take up too much time, but are going to have a huge impact to kind of get the ball rolling, right? If they're in that state where they're saying like, well, shit, yeah, I am fat. Like I need to start going to the gym. I'm not confident. I don't know what I'm doing with my kids. Like they just need to get their life like back on track.
Yeah.
But they're super busy. Like what do you think practically they can start doing?
Yeah. First of all, I don't think anybody should ever say that I'm fat. I think it's okay for making a general statement. I would never say, if I'm talking to somebody, I would never, I definitely like refer to people as fat, but never an individual. I think that internal dialogue is the first thing that needs to change.
Yep.
You're not fat, you have fat.
Yeah.
Like at one point you didn't. So that's good. So that it's possible not to be like that. So we'll change the internal dialogue, and then we just basically have to change our habits. But the easiest thing, we'll definitely get into more, because I shouldn't say easy. I should say simple. The simplest thing is to sleep less.
Okay.
Sleep less. Okay. Sleep is important, right? We all know sleep is important. But if you feel, because a lot of people do, and this is where I always start, if you feel that you don't have any time, which you do, but I can't sit here and break down everybody's who said I can't go through the day with everybody. But if you literally feel that you're maxed out on time, just sleep less, because you will be better off. You'll be healthier, fitter, and happier, and have more energy if you sleep less and utilize and invest that hour getting in some exercise. So if you replace 1 hour of sleep with 1 hour of exercise, you're
Yeah, it's a
going to
net
be
positive.
much exactly. It's a net positive. Some of the other things is just, again, just taking inventory of the time that you're spending. And what I talked about in the podcast, the first episode was basically creating the bandwidth and the headspace. Because when people say they don't have time, what I really think they mean is they don't have the energy. And I believe them when they say that, because we only have so much bandwidth. Just like a cell phone, all of us only have so much storage capacity. Sometimes you pull out our phone, go to take a picture or video, and you get that message that pops up and it says, you can't take any more photos or videos because you've reached, you got to delete some shit and create some space. Our minds, our brains are quite similar to that. So we only have so much bandwidth. So in order to create some new, healthy, positive habit that is going to impact our life in a profound way, something needs to go. And we'll talk about some of the low-hanging fruit, like social media. You don't need to be spending an exorbitant amount of time on social media. You should only be following accounts that offer you value, right? Where they educate, inspire, motivate, or entertain. So go through your social media feed. Anybody who you're following that doesn't give you value, that doesn't entertain, inspire, motivate, or entertain, unfollow them. All right. If you're a dad and you're following a bunch of, hot fitness chicks or whatever, unfollow them, because that's not doing anything but chipping away at your limited bandwidth. If you have negative friends, negative family members, unfollow them. Let's create some headspace there. Set screen times on your phone. If you have a habit of, when you're bored, pulling out your phone and just scrolling through, I don't think people are really aware of how much time they actually end up spending capacity. And again, it's not just the time, it's the energy, and it's fucking draining. Set screen times on your phone, block porn sites. Look, this is the thing that I've talked about increasingly over the last year and a half as I've learned more about it. Look, I used to watch porn. I was never a point where I think that it was a problem or anywhere near it, but it was weird. It got to a point. I've done a lot of psychedelics, and as I've gone through my spiritual journey with psychedelics, I started to develop more of an awareness of my own behavior, my own actions, and my own intentions. And I think at some point, I just started to feel like when I was watching porn, I started to feel not so good about myself, because when, through the psychedelic journey with the proper intention, you develop a higher level of self-awareness and consciousness, as it were. So I thought that was very fascinating. And then I started to kind of delve into it, and I started to read and research about all the studies that are done on pornography. And it's actually got to a point where there's a lot of research that's been done that show that people who watch pornography on a consistent basis, they're essentially rewiring their brain and depleting gray matter in the brain. Gray matter is linked to drive, motivation, and the desire to go out and conquer the world, which as a man, we need that shit as a man, as a father. And some other things, like, who are you surrounding yourself with? Right? Like, if you're a fat guy and you're hanging around with a bunch of other fat guys, look, it might be time to get some new fucking friends.
Yeah, you are the sum of the 5 people.
I hate to say it. I don't want to be a fucking asshole, but you have to be around people who are going to push you to be better. And, sometimes you might be fortunate to have somebody who's willing to action, to literally push you, right? And literally light a fire under your ass. But when you're around other high value, high performing men who are fit, who are active, who are successful, who are out there getting it, there's the organic energy that just kind of stems from that sort of dynamic. It's powerful. And the thing is, a lot of times when people hear that, like, well, shit, I don't have that network, and where do I meet these people? The quickest way to actually get to that point is to actually just cut out the low value, fat, just lazy, lethargic, just uninspired people that you're hanging around now. And again, listening to podcasts like this, reading books, just learning from high value people, where you can start adopting some of the behavioral traits, characteristics, and thought patterns that they possess, that you can then start instilling into your life, that will ultimately create a dynamic where you're raising your standards, you're raising your vibration, and in turn, you begin attracting more high value, high quality people in your life.
Yeah. No, I mean, to your point on that, right? 2 years ago, I probably would have never thought I'd be having a conversation with you, right? In kind of the situation that you're at and the success you've had, right? But I've done the work on personal development and started down that journey, right? And started the company and surrounded myself with different people, and so I think when I reached out to you, I mean, it was a response right away. It's like, fuck yeah, dude, sounds awesome. It's like awesome, right?
Yeah.
So I think that the higher, like you said, the higher standards you set on yourself, it's going to raise those, that you can kind of be around, right? Which is going to be huge. It's going to rub off you in a big way.
And let me just follow up on that, if you don't mind. You said, raising the standard.
Mm-hmm.
So like, that's such an easy thing to say. And you hear that a lot, but people really need to understand like what that actually means. The only way to change your life is to raise your standards. And even with that said, like, okay, well, how do I raise my standards? Where you're at right now, the way you do things right now is a direct result of the way you think. So we talk about personal development and the importance of personal development. How you raise your standards is through personal development. And most people believe in their association with reading books and learning and what have you, they have a negative association attached from, the programming in elementary school, middle school, high school. We had to do these book reports and assignments, read books that we didn't want to fucking read, learn information that had no relevance to the real world. Most people, when they think of personal development and reading books, that's what comes to mind, and that's why they don't do it. It's important that we develop an awareness of that and realize that personal development teaches you to think different. The only difference in people are their standards. And through the process of personal development and learning from people who are achieving success at the highest level, we begin to examine things from a different perspective. We begin to look at things from a different angle, and we begin to act in accordance, not with the people we are now, but the people we aspire to be. We need to act as if. And the only way that you're going to know like what to do and how to do it is by exposing yourself to personal development early and often, understanding that the most important work of your life, not being a dad, it's not the job you go to every day. The most important work of your life is the work that you do on yourself, because that's what is going to give you the ability to be a better dad, to be a better, at your job, with your career, to be a better husband, and to be a better human being.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to the saying of, the plane's crashing, right? You want to put your mask on first before you help somebody else out. And I think like dads especially fall into the trap of like, I got to do everything for the family, right? Like I'm going to sacrifice, everything, all my time for the family. I'm going to, do this and this and this, and like it's for the kids, blah, blah, blah. And we get overwhelmed and we're thinking like, hey, if I take time to myself, like I feel like I'm being selfish, I would say the opposite, right? Like, and then what I tell guys is you don't want to spend 100% of the time with your family. At 60% effort, like you want to spend 60% of your time with your family at 100% effort. Like the only way to do that is to take time for yourself, like to work on yourself, so it's huge.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. You have to spend time optimizing yourself, optimizing your health, optimizing your body, optimizing your confidence, optimizing your knowledge, optimizing your skill set, so you can become a higher value man and become a higher value dad.
Yeah.
Very simple.
Yeah, man. Well, so what's next then for you? I mean, I know Nutrition Solutions is running like crazy. You guys are growing. So what's on the horizon for you?
Just keep growing the company. We are going to transition facilities. We've outgrown the facility that we're in right now. So by the end of the year, we should be in a new facility, and just looking to scale up. Our mission, I mean, it's so important to me. And our mission isn't to sell as much healthy food as possible. It's to change as many lives as possible. And we're very good at what we do. We've helped tens of thousands of people accomplish extraordinary physical and lifestyle transformations. Many of them in as little as 42 days. And the reason I throw that out there is not a shameless plug for the company. It's to help people understand what's possible. And if you're hearing this, go to our website, nutritionsolutions.com. I don't want you to buy anything, but just look at some of the pictures on there. We have dozens of pictures on there, and this represents a very small fraction of the number of transformations that we've accumulated over the last decade. But you'll see pictures of people who completely changed. I mean, they're not just their body, but their life in just 42 days. Because when you decide that it's time to change, and you really are serious about raising your standards and you go all in, and you're prepared, and you have the tools to actually make it happen. It's pretty remarkable what can happen in a very, very short period of time. I don't ever think that anybody should go into anything important, anything significant with the whole like quick fix, quick and easy mindset, because if it was quick and easy, it wouldn't be valuable. The thing is, in certain situations, there are ways to make it happen fast and to basically get yourself on track. A lot of people have been off track for so many years and have let themselves get progressively out of shape, get progressively weaker, progressively fatter, progressively less confident. And they psychologically, they just believe that, because they have such a long way to go to be where they're at, that it's going to take the 2, 3, 4, 5 years that it took them to get to the point where they're at right now. The fact is, if you're willing to make an investment in yourself and make your health the #1 priority, which it absolutely needs to be. Again, it's more important than your family. It's more important than your job. It's more important than fucking anything, because without your health, you're fucked. Without your health, nothing else matters.
It's the putting on your mask first approach, right?
Yeah. So it's really, important that people understand that you're not as far off as you think. What's important is you get in the game and you just start working. You don't worry about, like, people might look me up and see a picture of me. Like, you don't want to look like me, right? What you want to look like is someone who you can be proud of when you see your own reflection in the mirror. Someone, when you see yourself naked, like, you want to feel good about that shit. You want to feel confident, because that confidence is directly tied to your ability to be a good dad, a good husband, and just somebody who gets out there in the world and makes things happen.
Yeah, dude. So 2 things, and then I'll let you go. So one, you talk a lot about different food sources, right? And like Chris said, like go to their website. It's got a ton of resources and FAQs and things like that, just around like health and nutrition. Even if you guys don't buy anything, like it's an awesome resource. But you talk a lot about like varying up your meat sources, right? Like I think when you think about like, all right, I'm going to start losing some fat, like it's going to be chicken breast, it's going to be broccoli and brown rice, and that's it, right? Like why do you think it's so important to vary? Like you're always talking about like, having bison, having elk and things like that.
I don't think that anybody should go on a diet or start eating better just to lose weight. I think that people, if they aspire to have longevity in making a lifestyle change, they need to be focused with optimizing their health, optimizing their performance, and optimizing their ability to live a life that's worth living. And what we need to understand is different foods and food sources, protein sources, vegetable sources, they offer different nutrients, different vitamins, different minerals. And when it comes to the protein sources, which, protein, high quality protein, in my opinion, a lot of research to back my opinion, but again, at the end of the day, is my opinion, protein is the most important thing that we can put in our body to optimize our body, to optimize our health, optimize our performance. Like anything else in life, not all protein is created equal. So we want to ensure that we're consuming the healthiest, fittest, most dominant animals out there, right? Bison, elk, these are very powerful animals, very strong animals that are, consuming a natural diet, right? Not eating the equivalent. See, most what people don't realize is most commercially raised animals, whether it be chickens, cows, whatever, like, what they're fed is basically the equivalent to fast food. So you just have to think, like, do you want to consume a healthy, fit, strong, energetic animal, or do you want to consume a fat, weak, lethargic, sick animal? Which one do you think will be in your best interest? But yeah, like, bison, elk, venison, grass-fed beef, these are more than just proteins. These are protein superfoods, because not only do they offer a very high quality source of protein, which protein is the #1 essential building block of muscle. A lot of people don't realize this, but the key to sustainable fat loss is actually building muscle. But these proteins offer, not just high protein, not just quality fat, in a lower calorie, but just an abundance of vitamins, minerals, and omega-3 fatty acids. Grass-fed beef has up to 6 times as much omega-3 fatty acids as grain-fed beef. And the reason that that's important is omega-3 is a very, very closely linked to mental health. There's these studies that they do aren't done here, of course, because our
propaganda. We got the food triangle.
Right, exactly. But there's a lot of studies that have been done abroad that have shown that the consistent outlier in people who maintain high levels of mental health and people who don't is actually consuming grass-fed beef in their diet. They had a study that I read about. They had a bunch of people who were suffering from depression and mental health issues that came in, and they had 2 groups. One group got coaching and basically were put on a nutritional regimen that included consuming grass-fed beef 3 times a week. The other group didn't change their diet and just got the coaching. And at the end of this 8-week trial, 80% of the people who were consuming grass-fed beef said that they didn't feel depressed anymore.
That's
fucking crazy, yeah. Right? And in the other group, it was only 20%. So through the coaching, 20% of people.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to help you a little bit, right? But yeah.
But the reason for that is, again, omega-3 fatty acids have a significant impact on inflammation, and it's inflammation is most likely what's causing the abundance of mental health issues that we're seeing in society, amongst a bunch of other issues. I mean, inflammation is going to most likely be responsible for all disease ultimately. But we got to understand that the what we put in our mouth every day matters. We're putting it in our body. It's just crazy that people don't think of it like that. The programming is so deep that they just think, oh, it's on a shelf and it's sold, so it must be okay. It's like, dude, look around, man. 3/4 of the adult population in this country are overweight. Half of that are obese. Half of that are morbidly obese. $190 billion annually is spent treating obesity-related illness. It's fucking, it's crazy. You go to other countries, we go to Eastern European countries, you don't see fat people walking around like that. Here, you see them fucking everywhere. And the reason that that's a problem is because it's becoming the acceptable norm. People don't even think about it anymore. It's not like,
yeah, I know.
I was actually just talking about this yesterday. People are more likely to look at somebody who's really fit sideways.
That's what I was just about to say. Yeah, it's like I'll go around places and I won't think about it because it's just kind of part of our culture, like in America. But it'll just hit me and I'll look around and it's like start looking at the people and just start counting, and I'll just be like, yep, and I'm like, yeah, it's about 70% of the people, and yeah, it's just, but like you said, it's almost more uncommon now to be you're the freak that cares about your health,
Yeah. You don't want to be common. You don't want to be common. You want to be uncommon. You want to be the change that you wish to see. And again, it's not, we're talking about changing the world. The way you change the world is one person at a time. Start by changing yourself, and the inspiration to actually put in the work that is required to make that happen should be the children that you look at every single day. I mean, if you can't find the motivation, you're just not looking in the right place, because I don't know that there is a purer form of motivation than our children.
Yeah. Well, Chris, man, I appreciate you coming on, man.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. No, I think awesome discussion. Guys, I would highly encourage you to go check out Chris's website at Nutrition Solutions. And I'll post all the links and stuff, Chris, to your Instagram and all that stuff. So you guys can go check them out and definitely give them a follow. I mean, just all kinds of inspirational content coming out. And, I think you're doing an amazing work out there, man. There needs to be more guys like you, and you're definitely inspiring a lot of people.
Hey, next time you're in Tampa, let's get in a workout.
Absolutely, bro. Yeah, I still have mine today. And to your point on do something you don't want to do, my workout today is dumbbell snatch. It's so I only have 35-pound dumbbells downstairs because it's a new gym, so it's kind of light. But so dumbbell snatch, do 10, and then do 15 burpee box jump overs, and then do 20 dumbbell snatch, 15, then 30, then 40, then 50. It is brutal, man. So I'm not looking forward to it, but guess what? I'm gonna go do it.
Yeah, Have fun.
So, Chris, man, thank you. I appreciate it, guys. And we'll see you guys on the next episode.